Aujourd'hui, je vais parler the insidious cultural context that has made fire such a rarity, especially compared to the mentality of the masses. Which I mean, I don't think I need to tell the audience here, but come on, it is awful. Most people are just incredibly behind on the whole money topic, right? Forget about early retirement. Even regular retirement seems like a real stretch for them. Hmm. Ayo, Zempak here, another day not working for the man. My god, my life is so easy. Seriously, sure, I'm about to rant on another fire adjacent topic, and I can't get really ranty unless I feel passionate about a particular subject, right? And for most fire topics, maybe I come across as a little annoyed still, but that is a minor inconvenience. Because, well, even my rants are limited to just this 1 hour a week that I work on these clips, right? I get it. Enough of the humble brag. Today, I read this question on Reddit that I will link below. That essentially is just a question that states, "Hey, how come so many people are so bad with money? As in that they don't prioritize financial security?" It seems like even more so, what the OP was really asking was that, well, he was being called an a-hole for sharing stories that go against the grain, right? AKA, how even low-income earners are still capable of becoming millionaires if they use the whole slow and steady investment method. Okay, on that last bit, I just think it's good old basic Reddit echo chamber happening there, okay? I mean, I skin personal finance threats all the time, and even I know to keep my trap shut outside of fire groups, because most people simply don't want good advice rubbed it into their faces because they're doing so terribly themselves, okay? Fair enough. I mean, I guess I don't want advice that rubbed in my face on topics that I'm bad at either, like swimming or riding a bicycle, okay? Still, the OP's original question seems fair. Why exactly are Americans so bad with money? Statistically, that's a fact. Americans have one of the worst savings rate in the world, and it seems like an everyday occurrence that people of all modern generations complain about the inability to buy long-term assets such as houses or stocks. So what's up with that, especially in a rich country, right? Well, obviously, because I'm a Kanye level genius, I will tell you my thoughts on it right now. Anyway, if you're intrigued by what I might say, please subscribe, like, comment, share, all that social media, whatever. Okay, I'm rich enough for me, and I'll be great regardless of what you do. First point, the issue clearly is education, or the lack thereof, okay? Now, we teach math at school, we teach economics in college for those interested, and we even teach home economics at some point back in the days in high school, right? But I've never heard of a modern equivalent where we teach children how to actually manage their own money at any level. Isn't that strange? I mean, for practical purposes, I'm curious, do any of you use calculus or even pre-calculus or possibly algebra in your daily lives? I used to be great at math, and realistically speaking, in my entire adult life, I've used algebra maybe a handful of times, okay? And yet we spend at least a semester or two on that in school compared to, how to make your money work for you, the basis of capitalism. That's not taught anywhere but on the internet, I guess. The problem is access, right? These days, sure, you can find solid advice due to the democratization of information, courtesy of the internet, but any topic where your only access is the internet is, well, mildly discomforting to the audience, okay, at best. After all, if you look at the wider world, there's actually no generally accepted experts that would be telling you that financial security or even advancement is really just a simple math that anyone can understand. I think at best people will confuse good personal finance advice with get-rich-quick schemes such as day trading or MLMs, and all that stems from the fact that society that we live in doesn't even pretend to educate the populace on personal finance at all, right? Perhaps that's intentional, but that's a topic for another day. For now, we'll just state for the fact that managing money just isn't taught at scale, okay? Next big point, right? In any part of the developed world, of course, is that whole consumerist propaganda thing. That's a huge problem, right? AKA brainwashing by the billions that we've seen spent on advertising by companies, right? let me be clear, this is what I'm calling it. Advertising is propaganda, okay? I'm a cynic and I scoff at ads, especially ads for products that seems ubiquitous, right? Yet I know it works, because it has worked, even on me, okay? Anybody sees an ad enough times, it simply becomes more reasonable to try that product, right? If you see a brand that you've heard of versus a brand that you've never heard of, it's pretty reasonable to have a better association with the one that you have been exposed to prior. I'll take that simple example and multiply it by a few thousand instances in your daily lives, okay? That's how much advertising we see that tells us we need some new version of things that we probably already own and absolutely do not need. Now, I call this humanity's God hole dilemma, right? This is where we stuff material goods into our God hole, aka the feeling of the existential crisis that's opened up since we cannot simply and reasonably pretend to rely on some arbitrary spaghetti monster in the sky anymore after the advent of science. So I suppose for the majority of the world, the idea of belonging has been replaced from institutionalized religion to just having stuff. Now, companies spend an unfathomably large amount of money telling us it will only take a little bit more of their stuff to finally make us happy and complete, knowing full well that, of course, we human beings are insatiable and adaptable, so we'll just want more no matter how much we have. Is that the company's fault or our own fault as human beings? Beats me, but the pattern remains, okay? Now, final point, peer pressure. I think also this item keeps people off the financial security train. Obviously, this is not a standalone issue, but especially it gets worse in combination with that whole lack of education and massive amount of propaganda we're exposed to, right? Again, I am not saying I'm immune to this, okay? Even though I tell myself I'm trying to be efficient when it comes to purchasing. I mean, as a group, I just think people are stupid, okay? I am part of that group as well. Sure, because, you know, my example is when I see photos of other people's giant mansions, and sometimes I think to myself, how come my house isn't that big? But that thought remains for a very short amount of time in my brain, because I immediately realize that I hate cleaning, and my house is appropriate for my family size, okay? Why the heck would I want to resign myself to a ton of upkeep solely for the sake of impressing other people? And that's really the crux of it, right? We tend to overspend in a group due to peer pressure because we think it impresses other people. The reality, of course, that even when I was jealous of a friend's stuff, it's for a little blip in time, whereas most of the time, I don't care who has what. The real question we should ask ourselves, and probably doesn't do often enough, is really simple, which is, what actually makes you happy? Okay? After all, we don't live the lives of our friends or families or peers. So if someone else says, you know, let's say an in-law, hey, you should really get a pool, it'd fit great with your house, my answer is not always, absolutely, whoever's asking this question, you should get a pool, because I would love to visit your pool and not have to maintain one myself. See, problem solved. Push it out to the other people. So, in conclusion, people are dumb. I knew that, you knew that. It's just that that's the problem, right? We are dumb in a group and we are undereducated and being lied to by a massively complicated advertising industry, right? Therefore, not a surprise that most people are bad at managing money and even feel somewhat justified in how poor they're doing. But hey, at least not all hope is lost. FIRE as a mentality is the answer to most people's personal finance prayers. I know it, my tiny audience, you people surely know it too. The only issue right now, of course, is that FIRE adherents are a tiny, tiny minority of the world. But that's okay, right? We all like to feel special, right? I know I do, so do you agree with my rant or think I'm totally off my rockers? I would love to listen to your reasons. Let me know below. Cheers. I'll approach it.